As an immigrant in the West, you'll face all kinds of challenges, finding an apartment, getting a job, visa, but there's this one challenge that'll make the others look easy. The one that no one even dares to tackle because it's too scary, the mother of all immigration challenges, especially for Indian men, finding a girlfriend. Am I even allowed to do that? Will I find a compatible partner here? Should I do it? There's so much other stuff to take care of. You might remember your parents telling you, focus on making money, the rest will follow naturally. Maybe the voice of your father is in your head. Hey, पढ़ाई करने के लिए गया तू या लड़कियों चेड़ने. Let's be clear, dating isn't going to work for you if you have all these fundamental doubts and voices in your head. A lot of people want the quick tips on how to start the conversation, what to say, how to text, but all of that will be utterly useless if you are plagued with thoughts like these at night. We have to work through these questions in your mind. You need to create clarity, and only with that clarity will you be able to enter the dating landscape of the West, which will seem chaotic to you at first. Stay sane and be successful. And that's what we'll be doing here in this video. Yes, dating is a bit of an intimidating topic, especially coming from the Indian culture. And if you don't do it properly, you will easily get to the conclusion that it's just not worth the effort. But I can tell you for sure that it's possible to find a compatible partner in the West as an Indian living abroad. And I can say that from my own experience, but I can also say it because I've spent the last 3 years coaching Indian men living abroad on how to get a long-term partner through the Western dating system. And in this video, you will learn the 3 fundamental mindset shifts that I've identified that need to happen for Indians in the West to be successful with dating. These are 3 faulty thought patterns that I've observed over and over again that prevent Indian men from having success. But before we jump into those 3, I want to ask you a couple of preliminary questions. The first one is, are you sure that you want to stay in the West? A lot of people are in this mindset that they want to just stay for a year, maybe one more year, and it's just a temporary gig. And you know a lot of people, and I know a lot of people who say that, but they still stay, and they stay for the rest of their lives. So be honest with yourself. If you've already stayed here for 4 or 5 years and you keep saying next year is the one when I move back, you're probably going to stay here. But if you're not sure about this, then think about that first, because then dating is probably not going to be worth it for you. Then you probably first have to fix that clarity and find out whether you want to stay here at all in the long run. The second question I want to ask you is, do you want to find a partner on your own? And that means, do you prefer finding a partner through the love marriage on your own rather than having an arranged marriage? And if you're not sure about that question, or the answer is no, you're okay with arranged marriage and you maybe even prefer that, then also here you can stop watching this video. It's not gonna make a lot of sense. You want to have clarity around that first, and if you're not sure, I'll link another video where I talk about that decision. But if you're clear that you want to stay here and that you want to definitely find a partner on your own, then this video is gonna be incredibly important for your life. And I need you to watch it till the end. This video is going to contain the information that will make it possible for you to find a partner on your own in the West. It's not going to make it easy, but it's going to make it possible. To make it easy, you still have to do a lot of actions after watching this video, but a lot of people, when they are watching a video like this, are not even in a state where they could take action. They're still blocked on the mindset level. And in those situations, it's a great idea to watch a video like this one, but it's important that you follow my train of thoughts and lock in and focus in, because that way we're going to unlock your mind. And it's a very high leverage activity. Usually you can't really change much with just thinking and talking. But in this case, just by having this conversation here, you can actually shift your mindset forever. It's not going to be as fun and sexy and entertaining as a video where I do a weird communication exercise or where I show you some in-field footage, but it's so much more powerful. So now let's jump in and open up the first box, the first mindset that plagues a lot of Indians when they start dating in the West. And that is the idea of wanting to skip the whole dating part. A lot of people come here and they want to find a partner on their own. They want to stay here, but they're not really doing much for it because they're coming from a paradigm where finding a partner is not really your responsibility. It's not something you have to actively do. It just kind of happens and it's arranged for you. And even though they say they don't want arranged marriage, they will often say, I don't want to play games, I don't want to waste time with girls who aren't serious, I don't have time for dating, I don't want to be spending months or even years dating before going into the serious, committed, long-term marriage. But what you're doing here is really, you're saying you basically prefer arranged marriage. You just want an arranged marriage with someone that you choose yourself in the West. And that, my friends, is not on the menu. That's a combination of East and West that won't work. You have to accept that in the West, you need to work to find a partner. You cannot just get them delivered to you. You cannot immediately decide whether to marry or not. And you're going to have to do some work to make your values align. That said, you don't need to accept the dating culture of the West as it is and participate in dating as everyone else does. And that's the synthesis here. You want to define your own dating culture that is not what you associate with the word dating, which you despise. As someone from a different culture, you actually have a unique opportunity to define a better system of dating, because it turns out you're not the only one who thinks that dating in the West is kind of weird. Most people would agree with you that there are big flaws in that system. And you can be more courageous with that judgment and not just say, yeah, it's kind of weird, I'm not going to participate. You can say, it's weird, and I'm going to offer an alternative. Instead of complaining, resigning, or half-assedly trying to fit in, you can offer something of your own. And that means your kind of dating, the one that you participate in and offer, is not necessarily casual. You can make it very clear that you're looking for a relationship and the prospect of a family. Doesn't mean that you have to marry after 2 months, but you can make it clear that that's the prospect that you need to see at the end, and you're happy to explore as long as that's a potential outcome. You can take your own time to connect deeply before exploring physical intimacy. Your kind of dating doesn't even have to involve sex at all. There are lots of people who would prefer to delay that kind of part of the relationship. And then also your kind of dating doesn't even have to happen on dating apps where everyone else is hanging out. You can include dating into your everyday life. You also don't have to necessarily go to clubs and bars and talk to people who are drunk. You can define your own way of meeting people. And the right people will appreciate that. They will appreciate that you're offering something else, because a lot of people are fed up with how dating is being done in the West in general. A lot of people want commitment. They want someone who's family oriented, and they want someone who's also serious about their work and about being a provider for a family. And so you want to stop that idea of saying dating is not for you. Dating has to be for you if you want to find a partner on your own. It doesn't have to be the dating that's regularly offered, but you cannot reject dating altogether. It is your responsibility to find a way of dating that works for you. Of course, this is not easy. There are already lots of things to worry about as an immigrant. As Indians especially, we like to be very responsible family members, take care of our parents, take care of our siblings. If there are some tuition fees to be paid, we send money back, mortgages to be paid. And I hate to break it to you, but finding a partner is going to come on top. It's going to be another responsibility that you need to take care of. And it's not something that your culture knows, because in that culture, it is not your responsibility. So you have to remind yourself of the fact that it's your responsibility and no one else's. And that is the first mindset shift that needs to occur. The second mindset shift that needs to occur is you need to get away from this idea that for some reason as an Indian, you're not that attractive. And you might think that even when I start taking dating seriously and I go out and I start interacting with women in the West, it won't work for me anyways, because white girls don't like Indian guys. I don't speak the language. Everyone here already has a boyfriend. I'm too shy. Why would anyone date me? I'm too short, dark-skinned, not good looking enough. I don't stand a chance against those tall white dudes. These thoughts are quite dangerous because they become self-fulfilling prophecies. If you think that you're not really attractive, then you're not going to exude a lot of confidence, and then you won't attract anyone. But if you have these kinds of thoughts somewhere in the back of your mind, you want to analyze them and pull away the support under those thoughts. Find out what are the underlying assumptions. And in this case, the underlying implicit assumptions are that your value in the dating world depends on certain factors, and those are more or less static, and there's only a handful of them, mainly physical attributes. You can't change those things easily. But when you think about that assumption, you will realize that your value as a person and the things that you can bring into a relationship and the things that other people might find attractive are more on the mental and spiritual side, and they're highly multidimensional. You know that humans are more mental beings than physical beings, and especially women care much more about your personality than your physical characteristics. This has been studied extensively. And even within that personality realm, there are hundreds and thousands of different ways that you can develop certain qualities and make yourself attractive. Different people then care completely differently about those different values. Some do care more about physical characteristics, but most of them prefer a certain set of personality traits, and that differs from woman to woman, from human to human, really. And so you know that thousands of factors influence your attractiveness, and it's quite peculiar that you're blaming your lack of success on that one thing that you can change, your physical attributes. That is clearly a coping mechanism that protects you from taking responsibility again and taking action, because you know that if you make yourself believe that this is the one reason that you are not having success and can't even have success and you can't even change this, well, then that's a good justification to not start doing anything. But you do know in a sober moment like this, in a conversation, in a reflected second, you know that you can change everything that really matters. You can change your personality. You can become confident if you are shy. You can become charismatic if you're insecure. You can become successful if you're poor right now. And you know that if you had an amazing personality, confidence, communication skills, passion, captivating speaking skills, it wouldn't matter at all whether you're Indian or not. It wouldn't matter what skin color you have. It wouldn't matter what accent you have. And when I say amazing, that also is an amazing that you get to define yourself. I'm not saying you have to be amazing according to anyone else's standards. You want to compete on your own dimensions, and you choose which dimensions those are, rather than competing on someone else's scale. And then when you do that, you will find people who appreciate exactly that combination of personality traits that you chose. And those are then the ones that will be attracted to you no matter what your physical attributes. So that's the second big mindset shift that needs to happen. You have to get away from the static and low-dimensional view of dating where your success depends on a handful of factors that you can't easily influence. Rather, your success depends on hundreds and thousands of other factors as well that you can influence very much. And then there's the third big mindset shift that needs to happen most of the time for Indians to have success with dating in the West. And that is this perception that the Western culture is kind of degenerating. And there are so many people here who are lost, depressed, on drugs all the time, not really into personal development, don't have a long-term perspective on life, often sexually promiscuous. Then there's this idea that women who had a past can't be loyal or don't value family. You know, it is true that a lot of women in the West are screwed up psychologically, but it's also that a lot of men are screwed up psychologically. And what's underneath this is that, yes, the society here is a bit screwed up psychologically. Everyone knows this. It doesn't take your outside perspective to realize this. Congratulations, it's true. The danger is in generalizing from that tendency. And if you simplify and say everyone is screwed up, what you're doing is you're narrowing down your ability to see the exceptions. Like, even if that was the rule and most of the people would be lost because of the culture of the West, I'm sure you will agree that there will be exceptions. But by generalizing and focusing on this general rule, you will narrow down your view. And then what will happen is that you don't believe that the right kind of partner even exists in the West. And then you will obviously not put in a lot of effort to find her. And then again, that's a convenient justification to stay inactive and not really do anything at all. Also, of course, it's not true that everyone is lost. And of course, there are a lot of people that are somewhat lost. But then there's also a lot of people who are somewhat lost, but they don't have to stay lost. This links back to our discussion in the second point, where with a more dynamic view of life, you can understand that people change and grow. And when two people meet and enter a relationship, they change and grow a lot. In most cases, they get transformed by that. In the best case, they influence each other and grow together into much better versions of themselves. And that's also what's going to happen when you meet someone that is more influenced by the Western culture. You won't find the perfectly formed human for you to be in a relationship with. You will find potentialities in the world. You'll find people that could turn into the best perfect partner for you. And let's just assume, for the sake of this thought experiment, that there are like 10% of humans out there that are quite compatible with you the way they are, even here in the West. But then there's another 20% who are not exactly compatible with you right now, but they have the potential to develop into someone who's very compatible with you. Isn't it somewhat more interesting to work with the people that are not yet perfectly matching your checklist, that don't tick your boxes? Because that way you get to develop something more mysterious, something more exciting and new, where you don't even know what's going to really come out of it. And that's a beautiful part of relationship, especially intercultural relationships. And if you go in with the right confidence, then you can say, yeah, okay, a lot of people in society are lost, but I can't save society. What I can do is I can find one person who is part of that society but still open to another way, and I can help that person get out of the negative tendencies of the society. Yes, maybe this person is lost, but in a way we are all lost in our own way, and I can help her out of her confusion, and she can help me out in the areas where I am lost. And then when you get to know this other person, you will understand that there's a good reason that they're lost. And it's definitely not that they want to be lost. A lot of people don't want to go out and party all the time. They don't want to really drink and hook up with strangers. It's just the way that society has kind of molded reality at this point. And it's really hard to get out of there. That's the one offer that society has. When I met my girlfriend, she was still occasionally smoking. And I made it clear from the start that I didn't really like that, and I thought that it was stupid. Well, it turns out that she agreed. It's not something she really wanted to do. It's just the way that the culture has conditioned people in the West that smoking is something that goes well with socializing. The culture is clearly screwed up in that way. And with the right support, she was able to leave that behind, let go, and say, yeah, it's true. I would like to find a better solution to socialize without intoxicating myself. But if you just keep observing and judging from the outside and say, oh, there's all these people, a lot of them are kind of lost, 10% are maybe not so lost, but they're hard to get because everyone wants to be with them. Then there's this other 20%, they're kind of lost. It would be a lot of work to get them to become compatible. Well, if you stay on the outside and don't engage, you will become bitter and just develop that kind of black pill hatred. You will go to a club like a guy I talked to recently, and you will talk to that one attractive woman that you see, and you dance with her, and then you try to get her number, but she's not interested. And then maybe she'll have one or two more drinks and she'll leave the club with someone else. And then you will say, oh, I wouldn't want to be with a woman like that anyways. They will sense the hypocrisy in that statement and in your mindset, and they will hate you for that. And that'll reinforce the stories from above where you feel like you're not desirable. It's your job to lead people when you think you have something that's better for both of you. But of course that requires understanding where people are at. You have to engage with them and meet them where they're at. You have to have empathy rather than judgment, and that way you have a chance of engaging with the Western culture and synthesizing it with your Eastern traditions and creating something that is just better than both of those things alone. But of course it can't be one-sided. You can't say, here, accept all the things from my culture. There are certainly things that are screwed up in your mind and in your culture as well. And you know this. I mean, you came here for a reason. Some things are definitely better here. And she will be the one who will have to lead you in those directions. This is also something that'll become clear when you ask yourself, will she fit with my culture? Will she fit with my family? Well, yeah, she will fit with the things that are amazing about your culture, where you are totally convinced that those are great things about your culture, because those things, you will make them very central to your identity. You will communicate them clearly, you will be convinced, and you will attract someone who agrees with you on those values. But there are also things where you and she and everyone else knows that they're kind of weird about your culture. The same way that you're not going to ever accept fully the things that are weird about Western culture. She is not going to accept the things that are weird about Indian culture. That's a bullet you have to bite. As someone who crosses these cultural boundaries, you can actually co-create something new by taking the best from both worlds and combining them in a compatible way. So in conclusion, dating is definitely worth it, but only if you have the right mindsets. And that means, first, you have to accept that finding a partner in the West means dating. It's almost tautologous. It's impossible to just find a partner the way that arranged marriage would deliver a partner in the Western dating system. And so you have to take responsibility for that. And if you're caught in contradictions, like the one where we say, I want to be dating, but I don't really like dating, taking responsibility here means thinking through such contradictions, overcoming the mental laziness, the intellectual laziness, and resolve these questions and realize that it's not a question whether to start dating, it's just a question when and how to start dating. Then second, you can overcome all the things that are stopping you from having success in dating, because they are mostly in that spiritual and mental realm, and that's where you can do a lot of work. And you can find your own combination of strengths in that realm that's unique and that will attract the right person who has a similar value system in the West. And third, yes, clearly a lot of things are better in the Indian culture, no doubt. But you can't expect to find someone who has the perfect mix of Western and Indian in them already. They will be more towards the Western side, you will be more towards the Indian side, and now it's your job to co-create together the ideal combination. Instead of complaining and resigning and going back to India, you want to take that responsibility, and the right people will love it. You can see by now after watching this video that your semi-conscious mind has built a whole construct of beliefs and complex thought patterns that often keep you stuck and protect you from having to take action. And you want to recognize that and deconstruct that, just the way we've done here in this video, where you pull out the support and question the assumptions. Indian culture doesn't really have the DNA for dating, so it's not going to be very helpful in this process. It doesn't have the framework for doing this kind of work. And so in the beginning, it will not be easy if you do it on your own without the right support. As a newcomer, you are disadvantaged in the sense that you have no clue how dating works, and so you're definitely not going to meet the most compatible partners right away. You will end up with the less compatible ones, with the polyamorous hippies or the drug addicts, the depressed party girls. And it's a big danger to draw conclusions from that subsample that you're going to get. A lot of people enter the dating market, but then after having these kinds of experiences, they immediately feel confirmed in their belief that dating is not the right thing for them and the Western dating culture is lost anyways. So that's a danger I want to warn you about. If you stick with the process though and get the right guidance, you can definitely get better. And of course there's this beautiful reward at the end of this journey, which is finding an actually compatible person in a different culture and building that cross-cultural relationship where you get to define your own optimal mix of Eastern and Western values. This, of course, requires strong leadership, a lot of conviction and mental clarity. And I hope this video helped you develop some of that. Like this video if you enjoyed it and subscribe to my channel. And also if you need help and guidance on this whole journey, feel free to reach out to me via the link in the description. And always remember, everything comes at the right time. Namaskar.